I've played 3 hours of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Ooh, wow, what a show off.
I know, and I've got some notes that I've written that have got things about combat, mechanics, some thoughts about a few other bits of the game that I'm really excited to talk about. If there's anything that I've forgotten in this video by the time you finish watching it, drop those in the comments, and I'll see if I can answer those soon on our community tab on YouTube.
Let's get into the adventure, Henry.
Let's dive in.
So you say you've played 3 hours. What exactly were you up to?
Well, we got to play in 3 locations as well. So we were playing like the actual game itself. We started off in Marshall College. We got to play in the Vatican as well. Bit like Dan Brown vibes. And then we also got to play in Giza in Egypt, which is cool. So got a bit of like, you know, Indies, hometown, sort of, you know, modern America vibes, a bit of like somewhat ruinous temple vibes in Giza, and then Vatican's like a bit of that mystery, like problem solving, I suppose, aspect that he often gets up to.
Yeah, very archaeologist coded. I like that.
Doing his research, you know. And that, I think, is something that's like instantly nailed in the game, is that you do feel like you're going through the same process that Indiana Jones would if he was solving like a real mystery or searching for a real artifact in a movie. So they've really captured the movie magic of Indiana Jones, but now you get to experience what that's like through his eyes. And it's important to remember this is a first-person game primarily. There are third-person elements, so you do get to see like what it looks like as he's traversing parts of it, or in cutscenes you get to see Indiana Jones fully realized. So those are the opportunities where you'll get to sit back and watch it happen. But in gameplay, you're like fully in control of it, and you do feel like you're in and surrounded by these incredible locations, and the environment team have done a really good job of not just like making what would look like a tomb, but a tomb that you would see in an Indiana Jones film, because it has almost like that cinematic quality to it that matches the shots that you would see in an Indiana Jones film. So that was really cool. They clearly pay a lot of attention to those fine details to make sure that for fans of Indiana Jones, they've nailed it. But also, like, it's just interesting to look at, even if you've never experienced Indiana Jones before, because they're beautiful locations, the atmosphere in them. If you're in a tomb, it's like the soundscape of it is brilliant. I think this is something that machine games are very good at doing, is immersing you in a first-person experience. Like all their other games, like Wolfenstein series, the first-person experience of them is what made it so good. Like if you played Wolfenstein and it was third-person, probably wouldn't connect with you as much, in my opinion, because being at that like viewpoint of the world around you means that you are literally there. And I think that's why first person in Indiana Jones might have sounded a bit odd for people when they first said it was going to be that, but I really think it works.
You touched on it just there, but a lot of the things that I'm looking forward to personally, and maybe a lot of people watching at home, will be that puzzle solving, classic Indiana Jones escaping at the very last second kind of thing. So did you get to touch on that at all when you were playing? Like what kind of did the puzzles look like actually in place?
Yeah, so I get the feeling that there's a lot of puzzling to be done in this game. So much to the point that there were actually 2 difficulty options that you had to decide upon. There's one for your combat, so how difficult the combat's going to be, and we'll talk about combat in just after this. And then there's one that's for your puzzling as well. So they've decided to include like a light puzzle challenge, which is a bit more of a guided experience, just to help you like progress quicker if like your main aim is to do the story, do the fights, etc. And then there's the typical like the moderate level, I think it's called, which is the intended experience of what you need to do to actually solve the puzzles. And a lot of them are environmental, so you'll like maybe pick up a little note and it will have some scrawlings that a previous adventurer maybe got halfway to solving it, and they were like, oh, I feel like there's something to, like in the Vatican there was one that said, meet me between 2 bulls. So I saw there were 2 bull paintings, and I was like, there's something there. Okay, so explore it a bit more, manipulate them, and eventually it revealed like a secret passage I could go into. So
Sick.
You're going to have to pay attention to the actual world around you, which is why it's great that they have nailed the look of it, because you will look at the environment a lot because it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And you'll start to see little details in there that point towards the puzzle clues. In Giza, there was it was a bit more complex there, and I think a lot of the more tomb environments will probably have more of these interactive puzzles that you'll need to manipulate objects with, or figure out the right pattern, or like these hieroglyphs, or like animals, like, and there's a story about animals over here. What's the like story trying to tell me, the order of that? And so you'll have to use your brain a bit if you're going with that difficulty level, but the guided one is there as well. If you're struggling a bit with a certain one, you can toggle it, then toggle it back if you want, or you know, if you're just there for the story, totally fine, you can play it that way too.
That is straight up my street. Love it.
You will get rewards out of them as well.
Sick.
So they have this currency called AP, which is adventure points, which you can just think of like as XP, because that's how you will progress Indy and get him extra abilities or like upgrades or, you know, stamina buffs. And there's one in particular that was quite thematic as well, is you unlocked it pretty early on, where if you get knocked down, this new upgrade let me like crawl around and try and find Indiana's hat, and if I could find the hat, I would get back up again. So
Sick.
That's kind of fun. They clearly thought about like fun ways they can integrate the like lore of Indiana Jones in a way, I suppose, into some of these abilities and upgrades.
È un mondo di dolore per
Another satisfied customer.
Well, let's speak a bit about combat, because there are
Let's.
the AP does help you out with the combat, but the combat is a bit more challenging than you'd think. Like a lot of the trailers we've seen so far show a lot of this like melee, like brute, like Indiana Jones just punching people, and occasionally using a gun, and that's very much the case in the game.
And in the movies, kind of as well, right?
And in the movies,
It's not in a shootout every 2 seconds.
It's not. So I feel like they've kind of nailed the authenticity of how Indiana Jones would actually approach a fight, because yes, there are segments where you'll be up against a lot of enemies, and so I think they've decided that he's not a superhero. He's not like you know, a trained soldier. He is an archaeologist who happens to have, you know, a gun as well. And so they decided to take that approach by putting a bit of emphasis on stealth and how will Indiana Jones approach a situation that actually is realistic, that he can overcome. So in order to do that, he has to approach things stealthily, or resort to melee combat more often than not, or using environmental weapons as well. Like you can pick up like planks of wood or sledgehammers, or you know, things like that, and do takedowns on enemies, which are really
sick.
great. They're all like very varied the way they look. Sledgehammer one's particularly brutal because you're standing behind someone, sledgehammer through their legs, and then you pull it back, and then it's pretty gruesome.
Sounds very over the top, Indy.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's
Fair
rated
enough.
16, the game, so don't worry, it's not too brutal, but brutal enough.
No
that
melon
you get the
smashing.
point. Yeah, so that's cool. The guns that are in the game, you know, you're not going to want to use them too often because guns are loud.
Yeah.
And so if there's like 10 Nazis in front of you and you fire a gun, they're all going to be like, huh?
Like you say, he is just an archaeologist. You're just a
Yeah.
baby.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Just a baby.
Yeah. I know many babies that carry around 6 shooters and whips.
Baby man.
A man
Anyway,
baby.
man baby.
Yeah.
No, but as you were saying, he is just a little baby archaeologist in a big scary world. And actually, I remember when I spoke to Axel from Machine Games at Gamescom about this, they were mentioning a lot about the environmental impact that you can have.
Yeah. There are, well, it's a very philosophical way of putting it. But yeah, there are environment kills you can do. So there was one in a tomb. There were these like 2 idiot Nazis there, and they were like, the tomb was
Yapping.
somewhat flooded a bit, so there was water everywhere. Zap them, which killed them
Gutted.
silently, which is a nice way of doing it. as
Oh,
well.
nice.
So took them out of the picture.
That's why you always wear Wellington boots.
Always. Or just take the power out.
Or just don't stand in
Don't stand
submerged
in it.
water.
Yeah.
Quite dangerous.
I
Anyway.
mean, fine by me because 2 more Nazis dead.
Yeah,
so,
true.
that was great. But I think it points to the fact that every environment you go into in this game is well worth scanning for its combat opportunities and its puzzle opportunities. And it's like off the beaten path opportunities, because there are other things to do than just playing through the story and experiencing the combat and getting to know the characters. There are just like extra little like trinkets that you can pick out from the game if you pay attention to the world around you, and I think that is something they really wanted to breathe life into with all the stuff that you are equipped with. So it's not just your whip and your gun, it's your journal. Like, really does feel like a lovely piece of like context to a lot of what Indiana Jones is thinking about, as well as his camera, which is a really cool implementation of a camera in a game, because normally like a camera's for photo mode or like it's just another shortcut to a menu, but the photos you take with Indiana's camera, actually then the photos are the photos that go into his journal. So you will literally be cataloging your own journey through this game if you're taking enough photos, and like a little sticker book. It's really cute. I really love the way that they implemented that. Also, the photos come out quite nice because it's got this like vintage look, because it's an old camera.
So when you were like in a gunfight or when the going got tough, how did you find that?
Tricky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a good challenge. Like I'm saying, I don't think it should be most players' first choice when it comes to approaching the combat. Mainly because you will be like, the enemies have more firepower than you. They will always start out with like a better gun. You just have your pistol, so it's not the most powerful item out there. But not only that, but he is just a man. He's not a superhero. So the way the health bar works, it's kind of similar to like plates in Warzone. It's like you have little segments of your health, but it's not saying like, oh, you have 3 segments so you can get shot 3 times. No, it's like getting shot will take off a significant chunk of your overall health, but using like a healing item will restore 1 full chunk that has like any damage on it. So if you're down to like your last sliver of health and you try and heal, it'll just take you back up to 1 bar. So getting shot like twice is basically dead. Literally 2 bullets will do it sometimes.
I mean, that's fair. I don't think I could do that anyway.
Exactly. So you have to be careful, and you have to like use the environment to give yourself cover. You have to, again, just rely on like stealth takedowns, environmental takedowns, other ways of dealing with enemies. Like maybe it's worth using the whip, like to just ping them a bit and then go in for a shot just while they're a bit more like stunned, I suppose. You can even use the whip to like scare off some of their dogs, which is cute. Like, because the sound of it is, I know it's sad, but it's also kind of awesome, because I don't know if they got into like the Lucasfilm archives and like got the exact sound of his whip from the film, but it sounds so good. It's the biggest whip crack.
Again, I think when we were chatting about it at Gamescom, I'm sure they were very proud of the whip cracking, and I think maybe it was something they did in house rather than an actual sound. I think they got like a whip expert or something.
Dang.
I'll need to double check.
Well, it paid off because it sounds awesome. It's really satisfying to use, and it's really easy to access it as well. It's not like, oh, I need to put my gun away and then get the whip out and then use it. It's you just hit right bumper and it quickly goes whoosh straight away. So very fun to use, but you have to be careful with the hand-to-hand combat side of it as well, because even if you think, okay, there's no guns in this bit, so that's fine, I'm gonna just punch everyone to death. Great idea. In practice, it's very different to that, because you have your stamina bar, which you have to manage. And if you are wasteful with it, if you're just overexerting, you do basically become stunned for a little bit, and you're just gassed and out of breath and waiting basically to just get destroyed by the enemies. So you have to like kind of manage it a bit. You have both triggers for like each arm, so you can do like a one.
That's sick.
But if you try and just go like spamming it, you will run out of stamina instantly.
Oh man!
And so you can't do that. But again, you could use your AP to get more stamina upgrades so that you can do it for longer at least. So the combat will get easier the longer you play the game, and the more stuff you explore to find more AP to then upgrade Indy to make fights easier, more fun, punch people up. But you've also got a power punch that you can do. So if you hold down one of the buttons rather than just give it a little tap, you're like wind up for that bad boy. One of the Yoda, and bang, just clock them, knock them for 6, which is great. Very satisfying.
Cool.
Again, the sound team have clearly worked very closely with the like combat team to make sure all of this, all of the fights feel meaty in the audio. So like when you're connecting with someone's jaw, you just hear like a real good.
Poor,
nice.
you know, Sean on the sound team getting punched about for the sake of voice clips.
Hopefully they used the crash dummy. I don't know. But if not,
Hopefully.
someone took a real beating, but it was worth it because it sounds great. I salute their service. But yeah, the sound is great. The visuals of it are great. It's just fun getting a bit creative with the way you approach combat. Like a couple of sections that I failed because like I got killed. Because again, you don't have a lot of health to begin with, so you need to conserve that a bit. Meant that I would start to think somewhat tactically, but also just like think, I could just try a few things out and see what happens. And you learn more about what you're capable of in the game by doing that. So yeah, I think it's scratching the exploring itch in the fact that you're a globe-trotting adventurer and exploring all these cool tombs and like archaeological sites, solving puzzles, but also the exploration of combat by just trying out new ways to fight Nazis off. So that's cool. In terms of exploration, the game itself doesn't it's not an open world game. It's like somewhat level based, you know, when you're traveling to certain countries or whatever, but there are areas that are maybe a bit more suited for exploring on a grander scale. So Giza was, out of the 3 locations, the one that I'd say had a bit more on offer, a bit more like of a grander area to operate in.
Well, it is bigger, I guess. The Vatican is the smallest state in the world.
It is. I love what they've done with the place. So so Giza was there was a bit more on offer there to see. I don't know about any of the other locations that we haven't experienced yet, but you know, I imagine there will be similar levels of exploration in some of the larger levels that we get to play when the full game comes out. So looking forward to seeing what that's like. Looking forward to seeing what those puzzles will bring as well, because I think each area almost has like a theme to its puzzle craft, I suppose, because like the puzzles you'd expect from like an Egyptian tomb, you would feel will be different to what you see in like the Vatican.
Yeah,
just purely from
makes
like a
sense.
Historical sense. So there's a bit
They're
of variety
thematic.
there. Yeah, so that's
I like
cool.
that. What do you actually do then when you are exploring those areas?
So yeah, you can just like follow what's going on in the story, but I think it's more fun to check out all of the locations that you're around, and there are sometimes you'll pick up like little notes or something that will give you a little tip and open up this like mini adventure. It becomes almost like a case that you can solve, which is cool, and you'll use your journal to like write notes down to keep you up to date with what's happened there. There was one I found in Giza that was this tale of 2 thieves, and I thought,
Tale of 2 Thieves.
yeah, I'll follow up on this. So I
Classic.
got discovering, bit of detective work, found some of their footprints, followed them. Turns out they only got themselves stuck in a cave in, so they're gone.
Oh no.
I'll take all their stuff. Oh no. Fine by me. So I got some extra trinkets and little bits here and there, but it's a cool way to like wrap up a fun little mini adventure whilst also having that grand globe-trotting, you know, journey for the main story of it as well. So I think each of these locations will have lots of opportunities to really like pick them apart to find extra like tales or just go a bit exploring and trying to find like more trinkets or gold or other collectibles that are around. Sometimes you'll find stuff that is actually for people in the area, like you could find some medicine, and it's actually medicine for the villagers that live nearby. And because it is that kind of globe-trotting adventure, you are going to be submerging yourself in other people's cultures. So while you're in Giza, for example, most people don't speak English there. They'll actually be speaking, I believe it would be Arabic. So while you won't understand them probably by hearing them, or everything's subtitled, so you do know what's going on. And like Indiana Jones, he'll respond to them in English, but you can still have these conversations with the actual natives that live there, which is cool.
That's really
nice way
cool.
to submerge yourself in the culture of it all, because if you're going to travel to Egypt, you might as well see what the Egyptians are up to.
Yeah,
walk like them, talk like them a bit, So yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
And I will say, like, the voice lines are one aspect of Troy Baker's performance that he's obviously very, very good at doing voice acting, but I think
this is like next level because he has to act as, I mean, like Harrison Ford is so iconic and has really taken, like, Indiana Jones is him,
big
basically.
hat to fill.
big hat to fill.
Yeah.
So basically, you want to obviously Troy Baker wants to do his own thing with it, but also pay a huge homage and like represent the best way of Harrison's performance. You're playing like two parts basically.
They could have totally just designed their own Indiana Jones if they wanted to, but clearly the fact they wanted it to look like Harrison Ford meant that it was incredibly important that Troy Baker performed like him too, not just his voice, like which he is evoking an incredible version of Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. Literally, you couldn't tell the difference.
Really?
Also, his performance of it, like it is motion captured as well during the cutscenes, so the way he's moving, the way he carries himself, like that little bit of swagger that Indiana Jones as the character has, he is like living that, and it's so good, and it's all paired beautifully with like the attention to detail they've made with like his facial animations and his expressions, as well as like the clothing, the attire that he wears, like even just the music that it kind of ties a neat bow on it all. Indiana Jones wouldn't be as epic if it didn't always have the theme tune kicking in whenever he was doing something epic. That's what really sells it. So it's a bit of a sad version of it.
Sorry,
it's much better than that.
It's building
Don't
up
worry.
to it. I was doing it for you.
It's much better than that. So
we'll add it in post.
It's gorgeous. The score is, they've clearly done their homework and poured through hours and hours of John Williams' the best of tapes, and it's great. So it's all just looking incredible, and I think people are going to really enjoy it, even if, like I said at the start, it is a bit different to what you might have expected from a game that's by Machine Games, a first-person game, an Indiana Jones game. I think what you will end up realizing is that it is a game that you will love, especially if you're an Indiana Jones fan. But even if you're not, I think there's going to be something that you really love from it, whether it's the mystery, the exploration, whether it's the meaty combat, whether it's some of the like puzzle-solving elements in both the puzzles and the combat. There's a lot to love from this game. So, yeah.
Henry, that sounds so good, and I'm actually really jealous that you got to play it and I didn't this time. But I have one last question then on that note. When will we wear hats and play the game?
Well, we'll be wearing the hats and the whip from December 9th.
Yeah.
This year, 2024. You can pre-order the game and get up to 3 days early access, which is pretty sweet. Or you can play it via Game Pass Ultimate on day one, and that's on PC and console.
Yeah, you can.
Very nice indeed. So, not too long to wait. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Buzzing to play a bit more of the game. 3 hours just sort of wet my whistle a bit. I want to get right in there. But if I have forgotten anything that you guys wanted to know about, drop those in the comments. If you like this video, leave a like, drop a sub as well, because we've got loads of other little game previews coming up. If there's a game that you're excited about coming up soon, let us know about that, and we'll try and make a video on it too. And should we sing the theme tune?
Go on. See us out.
Bye.